I don't enjoy it, I don't like it. This is part of the grieving process, is being able to go and spend one last day with the boat, winterizing it, remembering how the summer was, and all of that. Hey, welcome to Gears and Tech. Today we're going to be winterizing our boat. It is a V-Drive Centurion. Now, normally I would do a video like this on location because it's a whole lot easier to just film and talk about it and walk through it while I'm doing it. Unfortunately, when I did it this time, my audio wasn't working on my device, and so I just got a lot of great footage of what's going on, but I don't have my audio on it. So I need to just kind of walk us through. So what I'm gonna do is have a seat down at my computer. I'm gonna review the videos that I took of the winterization process and explain what we're doing so that you will know how to winterize your boat the very, very easy way with nothing really special. And it's super easy, and it will save you a ton of money to not have to do it every single year. So I'm gonna walk you through the basic winterization of a V-Drive boat on a fuel-injected engine. However, these principles will work on a direct drive boat. It won't be the same if you've got a inboard outboard or a boat that has a leg. So that would be a little bit different process. So this is strictly for guys that are running inboards or a V-Drive. But anyway, let's just jump right into this. I'm gonna go over it right now. Hey, before I get too far into this video, if you are liking this content, don't forget to smash the like button down below and hit the subscribe button so you know when we're releasing our next fresh new content. Now back to the video. So the first thing that you want to do is get the boat running up to operating temperature. So you're gonna do that by just hooking up the garden hose and running the engine. It has to run and it has to get up to operating temperature. The way that I run my boat when it's out of the water is I disconnect this hose right here. This is the freshwater pickup hose, and it goes to the bottom of the hull, and then it goes through the V-Drive to help cool that, and then it goes on to the actual freshwater pickup, and then ultimately to the water pump on the engine. A lot of guys will use products such as like Fake a Lake or other things. There's little valves, one-way check valves that you can add into this line here that make it a little bit easier to hook up a garden hose to. But on the older boats, you probably don't have that. So I'll show you kind of where that goes to. So we're going right down. That's the hose. Right there is where that line comes off of. That's coming straight through the hull of the boat. So I just undo these two clamps and pull this out. Now, pulling it out is not always going to be super easy. So you can fight with this down here trying to get that up, but it probably won't come easily. So what I do is undo the clamps on this side as well. This side's really easy to just kind of wiggle back and forth until it pops off. Once it's popped off, it's really easy to twist the whole hose and lift it right out. So that'll make it very, very easy. With this hose out, I'm using an adapter like this. This is a 1 1/4 inch adapter to a 3/4 inch. It just shoves right in there. It's a barbed nipple, so you don't have to use clamps on it. I didn't use clamps, I just shoved it in there, and then I've got this 3/4 inch braided hose that I've attached to the other end. This is what the pipe will look like before we reattach it onto the V-Drive right there. So here you can see a close-up of what that looks like. It's just a 1 1/4 inch by 3/4 inch. You can get it at Home Depot or Lowe's or anything like that. You can see the end is just barbed right there. So it just shoves right into that hole. So you don't need to clamp it, you don't need to do anything. So now here you can see the final setup for our winterization. You can see that's attached right there. You can see that our barb nipple is plugged in there, and then the hole at the bottom is exposed still. It's just uncoupled from that through hull fitting right there. We don't need to worry about that right now. So all we're gonna do is run this hose from here. Make sure it's all just tight in there, and that you got a clamp on there, and then that goes all the way back to a Home Depot bucket. Now this bucket is being filled with water. And the idea is you've got the garden hose filling it with water. Now I want to pay attention to this right here. You'll notice how the end of this hose has actually been cut with some serrated edges. That's so that when it's in the bucket, it doesn't suction against the bottom of the bucket. It will suction and then stop flowing water. So by putting these little holes, it can never build suction. You know that water will always make it into the engine. And then we're just running a garden hose, filling the bucket up with water. Now you should probably use a clean bucket. I cleaned this out so that whatever paint residue was left is not going to come off. But ideally, buckets are cheap. Use a clean bucket so you're not risking putting paint residue into your engine. But all we're doing is filling it with water and then letting the garden hose fill the bucket and then letting the engine pull from there. So as soon as I stick it in, the engine running, it'll pull the water in all the way through the system. And we're going to leave it running like that until the temperature gauge comes up to operating temperature. So here you can see we've just started the engine. The temperature is cold. It can't be that cold. You have to get it up to operating temperature. So you're going to let it run. It's probably going to take about 10 minutes to run and get warm. So you're just going to let that water keep filling the bucket. Make sure that the bucket stays full. In my case, the engine was pulling water out of the bucket faster than the hose could fill it. So what I did was ran it until the bucket ran out of water. I shut the engine off, waited for the bucket to fill back with water. It only took a couple seconds, started it again, and then let it run. And it would just slowly draw it down. So I had to do this about 3 or 4 times throughout the process. So, for example, here you can see the temperature is starting to come up now. We've come off of the 100-degree mark, so it's starting to warm up, but it has not gotten warm all the way yet. So you want to keep it going. We finally got it to here, which is around 165, 170 degrees. This thermostat probably opens at 160, 165 degrees, and that's why it's only getting that warm. You need to make sure that the thermostat is open so that the water is going all through the engine. Once we know the water is going through the engine, we are ready to move on to the next step, but not until it's warm. A common mistake people make is dumping the coolant in before it's warm, and then you don't get any of the coolant into the engine. It just dumps it right out your tailpipe because the thermostat hasn't opened yet. You must get it warm first. And while it's running, you'll have water coming out the tailpipe here. You can, if you want, go and feel the water coming out of there. It's going to be cold at first, and as it warms up, you'll be able to feel it. So you can touch it with your hands, feel the warm water, and then you have double confirmation that the water has warmed up and that the engine has reached operating temperature. The thermostat gauge is the proper way to tell, but this is a way to double check that everything's warm. Something else you want to do if you have a hot water shower is have it turned on this whole time. I have mine turned on and running the entire time. It doesn't hurt it, and you can also check the temperature with your hand. If it's warmed up, you know that the engine is also starting to get warm. But we will want to run that when we're doing the winterization anyway, so it's good to just have it going right now, just like this, and this is what your setup's going to look like with the engine running and the hot water shower running. If you have any other accessories that use water from the engine, you may want to have those on as well. For example, this boat has a heater as well on board. I turned the fan up all the way, and you may need to rev the engine a bit to get circulation through there just to make sure that's good, but we'll cover that in a minute once we start adding the coolant. Once the engine is at operating temperature, then it's time to shut your water off. So I just throw the hose away, let the water drain down in the bucket. You want to let it drain all the way out before you move to this next step because we don't want to dilute our coolant in any way. So we're going to just let the engine keep running, draw the water down, and it's okay to run it dry for a little bit of time. So when it gets to the bottom, you can see it's sucking air there. Now we're going to shut the engine off, and now we're ready to move to the next step. So the bucket is totally empty, and now we're going to use this coolant. And we're just going to fill this bucket up with one of these giant jugs of coolant. And we're just going to dump the whole thing into our bucket, just like that. Now, ideally, you don't want to splash it around on your interior because it can stain. So you want to, make sure you're doing this in a controlled way. But we're going to dump the entire contents of that in there. And you want to do this quickly because you don't want the engine to cool off and have that thermostat close. So now I've added 2. I added a second bucket of this stuff. Now this, I just got it at Walmart. It is, there you go, 9.46 liters, so almost 10 liters, and it's just waterline antifreeze. This is safe for the environment. People use it on their RV all the time, and it's also used for boats. There's nothing special about it. You just I go to Home Depot or go to Walmart where I got this. Get the big jugs. The big jugs are way cheaper than buying a bunch of those small jugs. And I just use 2 of these. So in Canada, these are about $12 each. So it's less than $30 worth of parts, especially if you need to get the little hose and the adapter. But we're gonna fill that bucket up and leave it connected exactly how it was before. Now that's all. So once you've got it looking like this, you're gonna start your engine, and when you start the engine, you'll see it'll suck it. It just starts sucking it right through, just like that. And it's gonna draw down fast. You can see how fast it's drawing down. It doesn't take long. We wanna run the entire contents of this bucket through the engine. Now this is why we had the hot water shower going, because we wanna pull that coolant through the hot water shower as well. So here we've got it running. You can see it's gonna start building a steady stream through there. So I know that that whole system's been winterized. The hot water, the cold water, the pump, and the thing. So now I shut the pump off. You will start to notice the pink stuff coming out your tailpipe. You can see a lot of it's coming out, and that's okay. You can see that my hot water shower has pink stuff coming out, and that's what you want to see. Pink stuff coming out everywhere. This is safe for the environment. It's okay to go down the drain. It's not going to kill any fishes. If a dog drinks it, they won't die. So there's no concerns there. Just let it run until that bucket is empty. So you can see my bucket has just emptied. Now we'll shut the engine off, and that is it for this part of the winterization. So there are a couple other things that you want to do as part of your winterization process, and this will just help preserve certain things, specifically your batteries. You're gonna wanna go into the storage compartment and disconnect your batteries. If the temperature where you live gets below 0 degrees Celsius, a battery can freeze if it discharges, and batteries tend to discharge on their own over the winter. So you can disconnect it, and that'll help prevent discharging, but to be extra safe, I bring mine into a garage which is heated and put it on a trickle charge just to make sure that it's always got enough juice. So this is me pulling those batteries out. I've got 2, so I've got one in the back there, which is hard to see from the light. And then I've got this guy here. I've already disconnected this one. So they will be heavy. You got to really get in there at a good position. And I never really figured out a great position without killing my back. But that's all you do. Just lift it right out like that. It helps to make funny faces too. And then just grab the other one as well. One thing I like to do is put the boat back into ready to run condition. So as far as the hose, you saw we pulled that hose out. It would suck to forget that that hose is out, and there's no point in leaving it out. So I usually put that hose back in, reattach it and everything. So as you can see here, I'm putting my bucket back away, and then I'm gonna take that hose, I'm gonna reattach it. So I'm gonna slide that in there and actually put it onto the through hull fitting, which I don't have great footage of. So you can see here, I'm putting it back on the through hull fitting, just wiggling that on, getting the wiring out of the way, and then reattaching it to the V-drive. So then here I am reattaching the hose clamps on both ends so that they are all tight and fully back in position. You want to make sure that they're tight. You want to make sure that everything's good as far as how that's going to work now, so that it can just be dropped back in the lake. You don't want it falling off or popping off or anything like that. And then a final step that I do is to pop all of the seat covers off and just leave everything propped open. This way over the winter it will get wet, and you just want to make sure that all the water can evaporate out. You will have a lot of water trapped in there from all your activities through the summer. So this just helps to make sure that you're not getting any mildew issues or anything like that. And then we just end up covering the boat up, and that's it. The important thing here is to know that the boat is ready to go back in the water. So in the spring, because we hooked all this back up, all I need to do is put the batteries back in the boat, back it into the water, and fire the boat up. It'll just work right away. All the pink stuff will just run right out. I can run my hot water shower to flush that out, and it'll just work. You don't have to do anything to de-winterize it. So a lot of guys, when they get that note on the steering wheel that says, "Stop! This boat has been winterized. Go through the de-winterization process." We didn't pull out any plugs. We didn't pull out any hoses. We didn't switch any valves. We didn't do anything. So when it's time to go back in the water, the boat is full of antifreeze, so it won't freeze, it won't wreck anything. In fact, where I winterized the boat, I had to take it for, it's like 3 kilometers from here to our storage yard. And while it's moving, these blocks are a self-draining block. So most of that coolant has actually run out the tailpipe already anyway. There'll be little pockets of it, but most of it's empty. So there's no concerns. You're not gonna kill the fish. It's okay to go in the lake. It's all okay. But I leave this all propped up open like this just to make sure that I get lots of airflow. The final thing I do is snap my cover all on and make sure that it's ready for the winter. Now, some people, if you've got a lot of snow buildup, you'll get snow building up in this space right here, and that can put a lot of stress on the cover. So if you want, some people use like little plastic things that they can stick in there that hold it up a little bit higher. I've personally used a 2x4 that I just rest on the windshield and then rest on the back cover just to create extra support there. But you can, I'm not going to use anything. I'm going to use it just like this. It'll fill with snow and then it'll melt, and hopefully I'm going to be okay. But this is how it gets parked for the winter. One final thing that I do, especially right here, because I got all this pink stuff, I don't want people to freak out. So I just kind of give it a quick hose, make sure that all the pink is kind of just rinsed off, and then rinsed over to the public sidewalk where people just think that it's water with a pink tinge. Maybe they'll think an animal died there or something. But it didn't take long to drain out and evaporate, but at least that way it just kind of rinses it off the driveway over into the neighbor's yard, as you can see there in the video. And then here are the boats at their final storage space for the winter. You can see the budget surf boat on the left there and the new surf boat on the right. Nice, good comparison, so you can see parked away. It is a very sad day when we winterize our boats. It's not fun. I'm not happy. I'm actually quite grumpy because I know another season is over, and I'm really upset. I don't enjoy it. I don't like it. This is part of the grieving process, is being able to go and spend one last day with the boat, winterizing it, remembering how the summer was, and all of that. So I know this ended up being a little bit longer than what I had hoped, just because I have to sit and actually explain it. I will make sure that my audio is working better next time so that you can be an on-location how-to, so that it's a little bit more exciting than watching me in a studio talking about it. But this will walk you through it. On a direct drive, there's no real difference. You still have the through hull fitting, and you will still just pop that off and attach everything exactly how you saw. The only difference is you don't have a V drive that the coolant is going through to also winterize. So it'll just go to the engine directly. But the principles that you saw here are exactly the same for winterizing a direct drive. It's the same fitting, it's the same exact process. So I hope you enjoyed that video today. Hopefully it helped you out, save a little bit of money. This has been Gears and Tech. Have a great day.